So this is the ultimate guide to clearing your hips in the downswing. So I'm going to show you absolutely everything I know to get these results. So my students massively clearing the hips, or even for myself, a golfer with cerebral palsy, to be able to clear the hips with ease as well. So we're breaking this video down into 4 different sections. Number 1 is what you need in your setup and backswing to be able to create good effortless hip clearance. Secondly, what you need to do with your body in the moves in the downswing to be able to do this. A bunch of good information on that. Thirdly, the best drills to be able to get great hip clearance. And fourth, the best bit, which is the practice structure you can do, which I use with myself and all my students to create that effortless hip clearance. Okay, so setup and backswing. So what we need to do, first and foremost, setup. So with our setup, super important, you need to be like this, flaring your left foot. So when you flare your left foot, what you're ultimately doing is giving yourself more range of motion that you can produce into that left hip capsule. You can get more turn. A lot of golfers are here. That's a big mistake I always see. You won't be able to turn very well from there. Your hip capsule's closed off. Let me just show you. So if I've got my left foot flared out, so this is where the toe is pointing, splayed a little bit out like that, and I'm going to rotate as much as I can before I hit a brick wall. Tons of rotation, doesn't feel difficult at all. Like I said, I'm a golfer with cerebral palsy and this feels pretty easy. Cerebral palsy is my left side as well. So again, it's not your athleticism why you can't do this. But now look at this, foot dead straight. I'm gonna try and do the same thing, turn as much as I can into that left hip before my rotation and mobility stops. That's about there. So we know in motion, I'm not even gonna get anywhere close to that. So you can see there clearly by a side by side, it is a huge amount of difference. Flare out that left foot. That's number 1. Secondly, in the setup, you need to get yourself into what I call old man posture. So you need to be setting up a little bit more like this, armpits over the balls of the feet. So what this does, this gets the weight and mass of the upper body lined up over the place of your lower body where you can bear weight the easiest. So roughly around the balls of the feet. So now as I'm turning, I can keep my balance and my posture very well, which is going to enable me to be able to open up and clear my hips. Where what we see most golfers setting up with is like this, armpits over the toes. So your mass of your upper body, the weight of it is now going to be over a very unstable part of your lower body, which is your toes. So what we'd normally see from guys from there, they would stand up like that through the shot. Their upper body will go back to line themselves with the upper body more over their midfoot. And that motion is certainly not clearing the hips. Again, whereas when I'm in my old man posture, it is so much easier to be able to stay down and turn. That strike sounded pretty good as well. So what we need to do for this, simple procedure, stand with, again, a little bit of a bend in your knees, very, very slightly. Club out in front of you, relax your mid and upper back until the club hits the ground. Now you're in old man posture. If you've got long arms like me, you might have to take a shuffle back, but now you're in that good spot to where you can manage your balance nicely and not have the stand-up motion. You could keep them back and clear them. Much, much easier. Okay, so now moving on to the backswing, there is one main key thing you need. So that main key thing you need is you need to gain hip depth. You need to load into this trail hip, right hip for a right-handed golfer properly. So what I want to see as golfers are moving back in their backswing, I want to see it's like someone's grabbing their right trouser pocket and gradually pulling it back. That's what I want. And I want the crevice of your hip here to really have some pressure applied to it. Like you've got, imagine like you've got like, let's say a lemon in your crevice of your hip and you're squeezing the juice out of that lemon. You're turning into this hip capsule really nicely. So that would massively help you in a few ways. One, you're loading up the spring. When you load up the spring, you can unwind the spring much easier. Loading up, just let it go and you will start to spring nicely. But secondly, this is gaining you what we call hip depth. So when you're loading into that hip, like someone's grabbing that right trouser pocket, pulling it back, it keeps the hips back. So when your hips are back, it's going to prime you to stay back, which we're going to talk about length in a minute. Left side moving back is a huge one to be able to gain hip depth in the downswing and be able to clear those hips. Really, really important. So we need to load those hips really nicely. It's going to give us that great hip clearance. But what most amateur golfers do, they will either not turn the hips, because if you don't turn the hips in the backswing and have no loading and then you try to clear, well, you're going to get stuck as anything because your hips are going to go, your right arm's going to get stuck behind you What you're going to find out from this video, if you apply all these steps, you're going to clear the hips and never get stuck. When you're doing it properly, you should never get stuck by clearing the hips. It's just why the top players in the world all clear the hips, and maybe a few of them might get a little bit stuck, but almost none of them get stuck. They do the opposite. They move the club out in front of them as a result, which we'll talk about. So no hip clearance, you're going to get stuck, you're going to get flippy, you're going to get hooky or blocky. So that's where no hip turning, that will result in that. So that's where some golfers then will do as well. They'll try to turn, but they'll turn with no loading. So they'll just push their hip back. It'll all be straight here. No crevices being created. So they're not loading up the spring at all. So they're not going to get any spin back. They'll most likely just stay under rotated and look very level at impact. No good. So what we need to do for this, really simple. Grab a ball. Put the ball in your crevice just like this. Now, as you're turning, so do a little backswing, push the ball into your hip crevice. Try to feel like you're squeezing it. Trying to squeeze the life out of that ball. When you're doing that, that's loading into the hip, and that's also getting you the hip depth. Look at my pocket, it's pulling back. So what you'll notice is when you get up to that full rotation, you should be able to take your hand off and the ball stays there. My material of my trousers is making this ball want to propel out. So if you're wearing ones that aren't the same material as this, which is very slick, you have no problem doing this, but okay, staying in there. Now, if I don't load the hip, what's going to happen? So no crevice there or right hip going back, ball's just going to drop. So that's where we get that same feeling, and that's how then we can apply that into the shot. We need this, absolutely need this to be able to create hip clearance in the downswing. And the great thing is this is going to create good, what we call backswing depth of the arms. So the arms are going to move around us, which is going to create good club path. It's going to create good shallowing. The better we turn, like I said, the arms go more around, really helps drop the club in the slot and be able to manage your path going through it. So many good things. So let's get into the next bit. Okay, now the downswing moves that create hip clearance. So now we've got the setup, we've got the backswing gaining the hip depth. There's loads of little backswing positions that we could be in, but we could still clear the hips from a multitude of different backswing positions. So that's where the hip depth is so important, but downswing motion, okay. That is where we need first and foremost time. You need time to be able to create this motion in the downswing. So many golfers just go way too quick, outrace the rest of their body. Their hips ultimately are like, hold up.
Wait a minute.
I haven't got time to move. You've got to give them time to move. Give yourself time in transition. Feel like with your arms and upper body, that first part in transition is slow. That's going to give you time to unwind. That's where we see the best players in the world. They really exaggerate this by even moving that lower body a little bit early before they even complete their top of the backswing with their arms. But for most amateur golfers, I'd want them just to feel okay. Giving yourself a wee bit of time here at the top, that's going to allow you to unwind the hips. So give yourself time. That's the first part for moving the hips nice in the downswing. Second bit, this is by far the one that I find the most effective for golfers on a whole, and that is making your left hip now move deeper. So that is where we want this left hip to go back. More specifically, we want this left hip, so let's say left hip bone, to angle itself down as it disappears around. So that's where now you're getting the pressure into your left side, and then you're turning and disappearing. I've got a great drill in the next section exactly doing this. This is what's going to blend the shift and turn of hip clearance together, which is a lot of you have the question of how do I clear and turn the hips without hanging back? You need the left hip to stay down as you clear. So once you've given yourself time, secondly, it's left hip going down. So angle down whilst turning back around. It's like you're closing the door. Your left hip is a door and it's closing whilst it's angled down. Okay, now when we get through the golf ball for the second bit, because we're all well and good until we're here, if we've cleared the hips, but if we're not doing the next bit properly, you're just going to be able to move the arms through with a big stall out of the body. So that's where the third bit is. We need to now extend the left side. So when you get that left leg from shaft parallel to the ground, straightening, you're going to see how that's going to keep my hips clearing through impact. And when we're doing our second bit, which is going down and around with the hips, that's loading pressure into the ground. And when we extend the left legs, get it straightening going through the ball, the pressure we put into the ground is now coming back out again. And we're getting great club head speed benefits. So as we're coming through the ball, we need to straighten that left leg. Again, the drills in the next section are going to hit all of these bits. So we need to give ourselves time, left hip going down the round, closing the door, left leg straightening through the golf ball. And that's how we're gonna then piece that downswing together. So let's now get into how to actually apply this practically with my favorite drills to hit these areas. And then we're gonna get into our practice plan. Okay, so now the drills to create this motion. First and foremost, this is our one to really target the time and getting the sequencing, getting that lower body starting first, which is ultimately what the time is there for. So this is the step through drill. I have done this drill tons. This is one of the biggest drills that helped me become a pro, was getting this motion, as this is a very hard thing for me to do with cerebral palsy, which affects my left side. I wouldn't have been able to do it without this drill. So honestly, all these drills I've done a lot of myself along with my students. So we set up like this with a step through drill normally, and then bring the left foot over to the right foot, club out the middle of the stance then, and now as soon as we take this club back, we step through and swing. So again, you set up, bring the left foot to the right foot, and then as soon as you take the club back, you step through and hit a shot. So let me hit one and I'll explain why this is so good for you. Okay, step over, take the club back, step through immediately. Awesome. Okay, so what does that drill do? Why is that so good? That is really good because it starts the sequencing really early. It really makes sure that that lower body and mid-torso goes before the upper body does. So many players who struggle to clear the hips don't give themselves enough time. Upper body races first. You cannot do that doing this drill. If you do, you'll hit a terrible shot. So your quality of shot you do with this is your barometer of how well you're doing it. So secondly, again, it trains the time via the necessity of the constraint we're applying to it. So that is where the step, and as we're going, you can't get quick again with the upper body. So it forces your upper body to be quiet, because it still is going up when you're stepping forward. Like we said, we see the best players in the world, some of them start their hip clearance before they really even get up to the top of their backswing. This trains it. So that's where, if you're someone who really struggles with your sequencing, this would be the best drill for you to be able to stop that upper body going and get yourself moving a little bit better. So that's where you might see yourself have a short little backswing like me. It's again, really hard for me to do, my disability to get everything perfect with that drill, but it trains that real necessity of time. Okay, so second drill here. This is the one for getting your hips to go back and around. And actually there's another drill for this and a drill after that for the extension. There's 4 drills here, so stay tuned. So, okay, what we're doing, stick through the belt loops, tiny bit on the right side. I mean, I'm talking like a little nub of it there, tiny little bit, but a lot of it on the left. So what we're doing, we're getting up to the top. Good coil up as well, which really helps you load into that trail hip nicely. Now what we want to do, we want to have this stick go down and around. So again, it's not just going this way, that's hip bumping, that's not going to make you clear it. So a lot of golfers who bump then turn, that's why you can't clear it, because you're going to get the bump, but you're not going to get the turn. This gets the pressure, again, when we go down, getting into the left side, as you can see, but at the same time, this stick disappears left around. I'm going to blend in the shift and turn via this. Now this does train you through the left side extension portion as well, the left leg straightening, because if you keep getting that stick going around and around and around, left leg's going to straighten. Brilliant, brilliant drill. I've done this a ton myself. I'm actually doing it a little bit at the moment with my swing to get my pressure left a little bit easier. Awesome. Really, really good one. Really gets you a very good rotational feeling. I really like the turn of the chest it gives you as well when you do this. So stick down and around. What I'm doing there, we're pressing it with my hand, pushing it around me. That's a great little one to do just to feel the motion. Okay, so down around gets you really in there. If we feel nice and patient, good hip loading, good setup. Awesome. Okay, so that is our second drill. So third drill is one you've probably seen on my channel a ton, because it's really good, and I do this with so many of my students to get these great gains. And that is the chair drill. So if we get a chair and we put it half a grip's distance behind us, this is going to teach you the loading of the trail hip and closing the door with that lead hip. Okay, so right, so like we said, chair is half grip's distance behind. So ultimately what this is doing, this is training us to get good hip depth. So keeping the hips back as we turn. Now we know if we get that left hip going back, what's happening? We're clearing it. That's the motion. Hip clearance isn't spinning. It's sinking back, closing the door with the left hip. So what we want, right hip to go back. Ideally getting as close as we can to the chair. Left hip then to go back, but still getting that pressure down the round. Some players will prefer this one to the one I've just shown you, but they're both great. Both achieve the goal. This one gives you a much fuller, more holistic kind of feedback for that backswing as well. So that's why this is a really, really good one. But ultimately, guys, it's all personal preference from there. So let's hit one more and get to the last little drill. We don't have to do all these drills, just what one suits us the best. So have a good experiment your next practice session. Awesome. Again, let's say my left hip didn't necessarily hit that, but the intent was to get it back there. We want the gap because even if we don't achieve it perfectly, the hips are still clearing, they're still staying back. That's why it's a great drill. So now, here we go. So this, we want to get the stick back again. This is for feeling that left side straightening. So if we're someone who really struggles to get that left leg straightened, it stays bent for too long, grab a stick, put the stick just outside your trail foot there, on the line of the foot line, right here, good. And then what we want to do is extend that left leg and the stick's going to fly up. So this is simulating us being around shaft parallel and turning through, keeping that hip clearance going. And it's going to go right up into the air, make these lovely marks. I don't know if you can see on my mat. Hopefully that clears off nicely. So really good one. And you can really feel the pressure loading into this as well as you go about doing it. See if I can do this without hitting the chair. So you see that it's only elevating from my left leg snapping up because that left leg straightening pulls the left shoulder up and around. Now, that left leg straightening ultimately happens from when, like we said, when we get the force into the ground and then it comes back again. So that's where a lot of golfers and a lot of people teach now is the ground force reaction. Pushing into the ground with that lead side, especially the toes, pushing this way, which gets you coming back again. That's a great way to clear the hips. That's essentially what happens when we do this drill, as you can see with my left foot. See how it goes back? Now for me, I found better success with my students and myself not going too much into that. The ground force reaction is what's happening, but that's where I find it easier to teach people, not through that lens. Just because, of course, the movement pattern of the body, you can see the results happening a little bit quicker and it's less confusing as well. So golf is as simple as or as hard as we want to make it. That's where this way is definitely simpler. So let's get straight to how to get this into your swing with a good practice routine that I've used with myself a ton and I use with all my students to get really good, fast swing changes, especially when clearing the hips. Okay, practice routine. This is brilliant. So however long you have available for yourself to practice, do this structure and do it for the entire practice session and you're going to make changes really fast. So what we're doing here, we've got 5 golf balls, okay? So with these 5 balls here, what we do, we take 3 of them and we leave 2. So what we do with these 3, we're picking our drill we like the most, and as well know what other area may be set up or the backswing hip depth. If you need anything to do from there as well, focus on that. But let's just apply it to our drill here. So we've got our drill. Let's say for me here, it's the stick drill. I really like the stick drill. I think it's great. So what we're doing, we've got the stick drill in here and we're going to hit 3 balls doing the stick drill. So that could be any drill, again, that you're doing from here. You hit 3 balls doing it. So let me hit 3 now. Again, down and around with the stick. Let's do it nice and speedy. Okay, there's 1. And now another 1. So really feeling that same motion down and around. Good. Got that ball back for free. Let's push it down there so it doesn't confuse me. And another 1. Down and around with the stick. That felt very, very nice. Oh no, it ruined my nice little structure there. No bother, we can grab it back. Okay, so now with the rest of them, take it away. So the next 2 balls, we're not doing with the drill, we're trying to now integrate the same feeling that we've got from the drill into the 2 balls here. So the stick, feeling like it's down around, so still imagine that stick's there. And absolutely integrate that same. Okay, awesome. So I can still really feel like the stick is there. Again, same thing for the next one. Down and around. Awesome. So now we don't want to hit another one unaided. We go straight back to our stick drill. So again, I'll grab that stick drill, put it through my belt loops, and then we go and hit 3 again. So why we do that structure is because the 3 balls is ingrained in the feel and it's, of course, rewiring the subconscious. Brilliant. But the 2 balls we do without is just trying to replicate those feels from the drills into the shot. If we hit a 3rd ball, that feel is going to be pretty degraded by that time. So that's why we don't want to do too many without. Now, what you can additionally do is when you go back to doing your 3 balls, before you hit those 3 balls, do a good 3 to 5 repetitions of exaggerated practice swings. Up to the top, stick going down and around. So a good 3 to 5 of those. Down and around. Let's do one more. down, around. Getting the feeling. Golfers don't do this enough. You've got to really exaggerate it. So again, then I'll go straight back into my drill. 3 balls, then 2 without, ingrain the feel, and then back to some exaggerated practice swings. Okay, so you've got the point. Any drill that you like to do, it will be that structure. We'll get your swing change in there as fast as possible. You'll be covering your bases to be able to make the change. Whatever the swing change is, I do that with my students, the same structure. It works brilliant for hip clearance. When you do the drill, you vibe with the best. So that's where if you apply this information, get these points in there, you can have individualities of your golf swing and still clear your hips fine if you're hitting these main points. You might not suffer with all of these, but these ones here, find the ones that would absolutely apply to you the best, and then go and work on that, and then you're gonna have your hips clearing in no time. So if you enjoyed this video, click that like button for more golf instruction just like this. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell button too to be notified every time I put out a video. And if you need personal help on your swing to clear your hips or maybe any other problem, we can work anywhere in the world, one-to-one on Skillist. There's a link in the description for online coaching. We can get to work.